We can even touch on college basketball if you really wanted to, Terry.
We
But
talk about
I don't
State
think
and
you really
Carolina,
want-
Terry.
but I
Yeah,
don't,
we still can.
I don't
I
know
ain't
if
got a
Terry
problem
really
with that.
wants
I mean,
to.
just on kind of y'all finally got to 500. I mean, y'all, that's a great feat for y'all this time of year.
See, but I watched the highlights. It was like when I watched the highlights of it, it was like all State highlights. I'm like, how did State lose this ball game?
Because they went 6 minutes without scoring.
They
maybe
did,
more
but
than
they
4
went
points.
for Virginia. Though they went 10 minutes without scoring, Terry. They just go in these long droughts where all of a sudden they can't score. It seems like they really feed off the transition game, but when they get in their set offense, they're just really struggling.
Sometimes Keats, when I look back at him, and we're already talking about Carolina State basketball is what we're doing, but when I look at him and I kind of question some of the things he does, don't get me wrong, he probably knows 10,000 more times about basketball than I ever thought about, but when I have Markel Johnson out there, and who's the guard for Carolina now? What's his name?
I don't even know.
That's what I'm saying, but he's playing him, and Markel's taking him to the hole for layups every time. That's what I do. I spread the court, and Markel, this is your guy, kill him. Because that guy could not play with Markel.
Mm-hmm.
And Markel kept taking him to the hole. But sometimes we go away from stuff like that, and I saw a feat that we're shooting like 26.4% from three-point line. Hey, you know, guys, that's what everybody thinks it's going to win you games. It also can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's doing to State right now because they cannot shoot a three at all.
Just really struggling at times. But, you know, Carolina's won 2 in a row now, Terry. They beat Miami last Saturday. After we contrast, talked them a little bit, and then they beat State. They're playing at 6 p.m. tonight, right?
Play Boston College.
Boston College at 6 p.m.
Then they got Florida State and Duke back-to-back.
That could be rough.
It'd be tough.
Number 5, Florida State.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cole Anthony decides to come back for one of those 2 games. But with me and how North Carolina played, I kind of went on a rant about it earlier this week. You know, this was your opportunity. If you're NC State, this was your chance. You had a defeated, really, North Carolina team. I know that they were going to come out scrappy because they needed wins, but we were injury-ridden. This is our 7th straight victory at PNC now.
Mm-hmm.
7 straight.
But, I mean, if everybody thinks State's going to fall over and play dead when they go to Chapel Hill.
Tell him Roy's got more wins.
No, I haven't told him that.
You haven't told
I
him.
mean, that's not going to happen.
Same exact amount of wins or
Tom,
whatever.
What's up?
Roy Williams has the same amount of wins at PNC Arena as Kevin Keats.
That's not good, Terry.
Folks, Roy Williams, Hunter repeated, this is your stat of the week on the show, that Roy has the same amount of wins at PNC, right?
Oh, I know.
as Kevin
PNC's
Keats.
Dean Smith Center 2.0.
Well, name it Roy Williams Court over at Terry. What do you think?
About like the Cowboys going to Washington.
That's exactly what I
And Hunter
Yeah.
even mentioned
That's
Terry's going to say something about the
That's
Cowboys. in Washington.
exactly right.
Which has nothing to do
That's what I'm gonna
with
say.
Kevin Keats and the NC State Wolfpack.
But
Terry, would you slide a little bit to this way towards me? We this is a scientific calculation that I put together yesterday of our cameras and get you centered up. I have to lower you a little bit. You're not
you
as
don't
tall
even
as I
you
thought
don't
you
even
were.
have Tom.
Andre
on the bottom
sat
left
there.
corner.
Andre was my model
Well, there it
yesterday.
is.
Oh, my Lord. No
Cut
wonder
off.
it's messed up.
So
Cut
it's a
off
little
my
bit
It's
short.
too far to the right.
We'll get you guys set
I'm
up
going to be
in
holding
just a
Kevin's
second.
hand in a minute.
But even,
that close.
hey,
Yeah.
Terry, all said, but they're still 14-7. They still have
they're
a very,
14-7.
very good chance to make
But what
the
can
tournament.
Don't do it
what
again.
can be tough though, and when you're 14-7, and don't be surprised if we play Louisville today. Don't be surprised if State don't beat them. When State has their feet up against the wall like they are now, are gonna fall below 500 if they lose. They'll go to 5-6. But they play Louisville today, and hey, that would be a huge win for North Carolina State after tough losses to Georgia Tech and Carolina.
That's at Louisville.
No, it's at State.
At State. So that will be a big game. And when you're looking to get into the tournament, I know it's just February. It just turned February. But you're looking for some good wins,
Yes.
some wins that the committee's going to look at and say, hey, look, they beat a Louisville, they beat if they go to Chapel and beat them, even though it's not the best year for Carolina, State needs to get a few of these wins here towards the end of the season where the committee's going to remember them so they can get in the tournament.
There's like 8 games left or something like that, 8 or 10. But State still has Duke twice, Florida State, Louisville. So, I mean, there are games there that State must win or at least go 2-2.
Right. If they can get
in those games,
get a win against Duke or get a win against Florida State, that would be huge in building that resume. So, Terry, I'm kind of pulling for State. My daughter just got accepted to State, to the College of Engineering. So I guess, Terry, that I'm going to have to sort of kind of pull for State. Does this mean I'm going to have some kind of huge inferiority complex?
No.
Okay.
Once that happens,
Yeah,
you'll
it's called
become
little brother syndrome.
you're going to become
syndrome.
a State fan. I mean, that's what's going to happen here.
Well, it's not much to pull for in football, Terry. Hopefully they get a little better next year.
It's little brother syndrome, but it is. That's what you're gonna have to live up with.
But no.
Looking up to the other two.
All levity aside,
schools.
I hope they do get in. In watching them play, though, they've got to figure out how to stop going these scoring droughts they go on. Man, it's like Virginia. I don't know how they won that game. Scored for 10 minutes.
I watched against Carolina, and I seriously was like, how do they not get a basket in 5 minutes? North Carolina has done that over the years a few times where they've had games where they just go on scoring droughts for maybe 3-4 minutes. The week before, you go 10 minutes against Virginia, and then you go basically 6 minutes only scoring 4 points against North Carolina, and it's not even, and that's a beat up North Carolina.
Now you got to give Carolina credit though. They shot the ball well, which anytime you're playing State, Carolina's going to shoot 50, 60%, no matter what. I don't know why it is, but I mean, some of their shots. But Carolina killed us off the boards, and we knew that was going to happen because State only has two guys, Funderburk and Manny Bates. Those are the only two guys they got under there, and Manny Bates can't remember how many points somebody's down when they do it in practice. So, I mean, he
well, Baycott himself is still a freshman for North Carolina. I know he's a big body, but he's still really learning how to play the game at the college level. And as much crap as I give Garrison Brooks, because I think he plays soft, he's turned it on right now for North Carolina because he knows he's really the only option they have coming up with a lot of the young guys that are forced into early playing time that Roy wasn't expecting to have to play this year due to injuries. So he's really turned it on. The thing that I'm really happy about is that, Cole Anthony being out has really given them and forced their hand to learn how to play together as a team, and they don't necessarily have to have that one man kind of just will them on. And they showed that against NC State when it came down to the, team shooting. It wasn't just one guy, even though Brooks did have a nice game as well. But when Cole Anthony comes back, because he has said he wants to come back, and I think it would be smart for him draft-wise because nobody has seen him since the first 3-4 games.
Yeah.
So for him, if he still thinks he's the top 5 pick, I would, of course, come back and play. The question is will he still be able to show his dominance? Will he play kind of timid, knowing that he does want to go play at the next level? And will he mesh with what North Carolina is trying to do offensively, with what Roy Williams is doing? And I'm going to say this, I don't think he hurts coming back. It doesn't hurt the team that he comes back because he's literally a walking 30 points if he wants it. But with what they're doing right now, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. I just don't want to see them lose that, especially with a game tonight that's winnable against Boston College.
That's a huge game.
It's winnable. And then coming up with the back-to-backs with the two probably best teams in the ACC, Florida State and Duke. So, I would use these games as build-up games, morale boosters. They're games you can win or should win, even though you are hurt with injuries. Use this as a time to just make sure that what you're doing, you're getting better and you're perfecting what Roy Williams really wants you to do right now. And this is probably gonna be, if they even get close to finishing 500 or over 500, it's gonna be probably the hardest year Roy Williams has ever had to coach.
Oh, it is. I mean, he's won 19 games in every season he's ever coached. And he's got 10 right now. And he'd have to win a few in the tournament and win out. It's gonna be hard to get to 19.
Yeah.
But as far as Carolina, today's a big game. If they can beat Boston College, they go to 11-10, and I think that makes them 4-6 in the conference.
Right.
But if they would lose today, then you kind of start wondering again if Cole's going to come back, because then you're going to have Florida State and Duke, and if you'd lose those 3 in a row, lose to Boston College and those 2, you would be totally out of it. He'd be 10 and 13, and I think at that point in time, Cole would say, "Why should I come back and get hurt on a team that's not even going to make the NIT? Because you're going to have to finish 500 to make the NIT."
Mm-hmm. But it's completely up to him whether or not whoever's in his camp, in his ears saying, whether it's mom and dad, whether they're telling him you need to sit or they're basically going to say you need to tape if you want to go to where you think you can go in the draft, because it's a lot of money.
Oh, it is.
It's a big difference between anywhere in 1 through 5. It really is a big difference between 1 and 2. So if you think you can still be a top 5 draft pick, why not go out there and at least put some tape on the board, play maybe even a few games, and then sit your own self.
I don't know, these guys that are real young. I think these NBA teams already have them pegged, and yeah. I don't know how much I guess they're only going to college because of the rule, the one and done rule, like they have to.
That's exactly what Ben Simmons said.
So
Ben Simmons says, I don't know why I have to come to school. I'm only going to be here for 6 months.
So I don't know if the only reason why he would come back is do I want to play and compete at this level just to say I did it, because these guys know they're going to be in the NBA. It's just a 1-year deal. I mean, I would have a hard time seeing him come back. Not because of the tape thing, but what if he hurts himself? What if he hurts himself really bad, and that's what can really damage his career? Is it worth it? And Terry makes good points. Is it worth it to come back for a team that's probably, arguably, not even going to make the NIT? Did we just say that that Carolina might not make the NIT? That's kind of unthinkable. So I mean,
their RPI is like 93 right now.
Yeah, It's tough.
They're better than Duke, though. NC State, though.
No, they're not better than State. State's
Who just
RPI,
won?
State's RPI is way ahead.
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. So we don't do head-to-head in basketball either.
No, our RPI is
Jeez,
way ahead of them.
what is NCAA sports?
What's y'all's overall record? 10 and 10.
1-0.
We're like
What is it? No, 2-0. Is it 2-0?
Hey, Terry.
We've only played State once this year.
1-0, Terry. That's the record.
Here's a stat for you. Carolina 5-5 at home. When have you ever heard of a Carolina team?
That's right.
That's 5-5
and 3-6 in
Well,
the
I can go ahead and tell you we'll be in 6-5 if we played State at home.
7-0 at PNC.
I don't know about all that.
7 straight.
I remember when the Carolina basketball women beat State, and I get all these little texts. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, State said, "We returned the favor and we beat you." So
what's
you know
y'all's
what
record?
I'm saying?
What's NC State's record?
What?
NC State girls basketball record.
20-1.
What is that one? It's 20 and UNC, Terry. You pronounced that right.
I remember when don't even go there, because I'm going to go back to old times again when Dallas won one game with Troy Aikman's first year. Who they beat? Washington.
So
there you go.
Dallas was Washington in 15. You're right.
That's fine. I'm glad that this is close, so I can't bring up all-time win losses, because I said it on the podcast, Terry. You have a famous line when it's so lopsided. It's not a rivalry, is it?
It's not.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to say that.
So State and Carolina's not a rivalry anymore.
I'd be the first one to say that.
So do you think they should?
Who's State's rival? East Carolina.
It would have to be a Wake Forest or somebody. But now we way ahead of them in wins in that. So
I think you have to add the hatred factor in there, though, to the rivalry game, not just wins and
it's
losses.
big
the hatred
for
factor.
State
to
beat Carolina, but it's not big for Carolina to beat State.
Right.
That's how
a
it is.
good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's because that's how it's supposed to be. I know that sounds arrogant,
Now,
but if you look at the records, record shows that Carolina is just supposed to beat State.
All right, couple of news and notes. Want to say hello to one of our viewers down in Florida. Headed to a meeting today at 7 a.m. Philip Russ is checking us out down there, still tuning in to us on Saturday mornings. Couple of news and notes. Hunter, the big three, lower in their age. At some point, do they get enough money and enough draw to get some of the players like
the big three league? Oh, the big three basketball league.
At what point does Ice Cube pay Kobe White more money, pay him $100,000 to come play in the big three for 1 year, as opposed to going to Carolina for a year or somewhere else for a year? Well, at what point do they get to that? Because you're talking at XFL. They're talking about they're open to drafting high school players.
Yeah, they're open to drafting high school
someone
players.
else in America is going to start paying these high school kids. If as long as the NBA keeps that one and done rule, someone else is going to do it.
But I think Adam Silver's at least touched upon.
Because you don't even need that many players
to
do that. You can just have your own little 3-team league with all the players that are kind of good.
This XFL as you're sitting here telling me, could open it up to high school kids to come in?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they didn't say that.
Commissioner Oliver Luck said there is no rule in place about 3 years at college. There's not.
Terry, do you really think seriously that Vince McMahon cares about the health?
No, he don't care about that kid at all.
Well, hold on. You mean
He's
to
going
tell
to pay
me
a 19-year-old instead of not paying?
But here's the thing: you mean to tell me that Jadeveon Clowney couldn't have gone straight to the NFL out of high school?
How does Dabo saying the kid shouldn't be paid care more about a kid than Vince McMahon paying the kid?
No, that's not the point.
No, but that is the point. Just because you can, I've said the same thing about why they should let kids come into basketball straight out of high school. Just because you think you can come out of high school doesn't mean you really can. You might have the mindset, but you're setting your own self up for failure. I don't care.
I just don't think it's
no.
I just don't think physically the 18-year-old is ready like an 18-year-old.
Well, how many 18-year-olds then are going to get drafted by the XFL?
Then
that's their own fault.
If
they want to try it, that's their own point.
Tom, could Maurice Claret have played in the NFL his freshman year?
It was. I mean, you could find one every now and then. But
especially running back.
You could find one.
It was the same thing with the NBAs. How many out of high school were actually great?
Good.
Kobe, LeBron, Kevin Garnett. Like,
if
very
you take
few.
these kids coming out of high school and say, okay, we're going to give you an opportunity to go to the XFL or NFL, that's not even a question. But go to this XFL. And like you said, McMahon ain't worried about whether they hurt their brain or not. Yeah. It's no big deal to him. He just wants
that
the kid to
NFL
come
really
over. Because that's going to up everything for him.
How can you say a college president and a coaches who are making millions off of not paying players care about the kid's health as opposed to the guy who's actually paying them a salary? Same age. Vince is actually paying them salary and insurance, and they are just... And they're just not getting paid. So you can't say that Vince doesn't care about their health and a college president does, because he's actually paying the 19-year-old and the president isn't.
They are physically going through development
the same
of their
age.
body,
so what does it matter if you pay them or not?
When you're in college.
Yeah, but here's the thing. One of them gets medical treatment with their own medical benefits. There's benefits through the XFL. They've got medical. They're getting anywhere between $50,000 to $250,000.
The only difference is that they got a different uniform on, and one's getting paid and one's not. Terry, they're still playing football.
They're both getting the crap beat out of them.
Yeah, they're still playing football.
Okay,
I just have to say that I think that college football would be a little bit better regulated than what you're going to see in the XFL. I mean, it's just.
I don't see, but you're holding on to what the XFL was and not what they've changed it to.
You're
because
right.
it's not it's not an entertainment show with wrestling anymore. They're legitimately trying to be a professional football league.
10 weeks that I watched nothing from that XFL.
Well, Terry,
I will say this: did you watch any of the AFL games before it collapsed?
Yeah,
it was actually.
It's football. It's football.
This was supposed to be the college basketball segment. Let's kind of get to that. I had a few more points before we got to the football and the XFL and all that. So the guy, the FBI informant in this college and football payment scandal is reported to come out last night that he's cooperating now with the FBI and basically just telling everything. Payments were made to or behalf to assistant basketball coaches at the following universities: Auburn, Alabama, Arizona, Louisville, Creighton, Texas Christian, Southern California, Oklahoma State. Directly from the guy his name's Blazer is his last name. At present, the FBI has tied allegations to the president and has delivered notices of allegations to North Carolina State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, USC in California for you South Carolina fans, and Texas Christian. Creighton has not confirmed or denied receiving notice of allegations from the NCAA. Other schools under investigation currently: Auburn, Louisville, LSU, Arizona, and Alabama. For those, Blazer testified that he made payments anywhere from hundreds to several $1,000s to players at Alabama, Michigan, North Carolina, with Northwestern, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Pittsburgh. U.S. attorneys are saying that he has been very helpful, and if it wasn't for him basically, this wouldn't be going as good as it is for the FBI, according to them. Also making players report to Penn State. He was previously surfaced publicly in connection with a scandal with North Carolina and Butch Davis involving impermissible payments to the Tar Heel football players. 5 people were criminally indicted under that North Carolina Tar Heel agent inducement law, but Blazer was not among those charged. Basically, he was an informant in that as well.
Ohio State was on that list originally. It was taken off. Just want to get that in right there. They were taken off, but I noticed that Carolina and State are still on that list.
I did notice that nowhere on any of those lists was Appalachian State, and they're just smoking them all. So that's all I have to say about that.
They haven't beat State never.
And if there was ever a school you think you would have to pay somebody to go to, it'd be Appalachian.
Clemson, you voluntarily just went up there and visited the other day.
I went to the ski resort, not the college.
You went and visited voluntarily the other day.
I went to Boone last Sunday. I sure
See,
did.
both of you vacation.
Same thing.
There we go.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Visiting Boone and visiting Appalachian
More
State.
like
Not
look
the same.
cut beside it and go to Banner Elk is where I went.
More like I went to a brewery.
You need to go up there in the summer and find a creek to jump in.
Yeah,
it is
cool.
nice up there.
Yeah, that's true.
It is.
That's
Man,
one of the
cold when Sunday.
It's one of the best places to be in the summer.
Man, it was cold.
And on the Parkway,
That
football
wind,
in the creek.
That wind was ridiculous.
Some Creedence Clearwater Revival on the record player.
What is Appalachian State's basketball record this year, Kevin?
Not well. Adrian Delph had like 12 points last night. I think
that's good.
That.
You know, it's good to watch the locals.
He's been doing
You
well.
want
He's
to
on
know
the leading score. I think he's second
whose
leading
name
scorer.
was not on that list that blows my mind? Duke.
Clemson's on it as far as
It's probably football.
Well, what he mentioned was that what's going on with it is he's talking about different communities and different schools put their different money in different things. That's why you do have basketball and football schools. He's talking about the Clemson, and a lot of people talk about this a church that may be involved in something in some of this, in moving the money to the Clemson football players, but that they're I think they're the big target on this with all these teams. So. That's what I would be.
Well, I know Alabama was listed on there.
Yeah.
I mean, their name was on there multiple times.
Said Alabama basketball. So if Alabama basketball is god awful, this is cheating. How bad is the football paying?
I think it's from when they got the recruit Colin Sexton to come to them because he was a very highly recruited player. He was a 5-star player coming out of high school, and he wound up at Alabama. You know, they don't have the most prestigious basketball team. It was the same thing that raised eyebrows when Ben Simmons wound up at LSU. And not anywhere of the basketball.
Wasn't Godfrey at Alabama?
Don't you remember that?
Maybe.
Is that who got him in trouble, Terry?
I'm telling
Terry, am I remember this right? Didn't Alabama have a coach named Wimp Sanderson a long time ago? Wore like a plaid jacket and all that. It's like a long time ago.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were decent back then. But yeah, you're right.
Wore a plaid jacket, wanted to be Bear Bryant.
Oh my gosh.
He wanted to be Norm Sloan.
I mean, but it seemed like they had some
and that
decent teams back then.
And that was not me just raising an eyebrow saying there's no way, you know, because it's Duke. But it seems like every year, one of the, especially the year with Zion, RJ, and Cam Reddish, 3 out of the top 5 recruits come to Duke. And it's like, well, wait a minute now. John Morant technically played on the same team as... Oh, I see him. Yeah, John Morant played on the same AAU team as Zion, and he didn't even end up at Duke. He ended up at Murray State, so it's not like they just teamed up because they're all buddies. I mean, you got to be looking at something. That's, people have been saying the whole thing because Calipari got busted the first time. How come he keeps getting top 3 or top 2 recruiting classes in basketball every year? It raises an eyebrow. It's like, okay, yeah, they know what the NBA is looking at, but John Morant just showed you that you can go play at Murray State and be the number 2 pick and be in the running for Rookie of the Year.
Tom, Big Ten it just announced that they're going to allow transfers, one free transfer, basically. However,
within the conference,
I didn't read the details. I just saw the headlines on it.
How do they do that with every other conference?
They're starting. They're trying to get to that.
Probably
to allow
within the conference.
The students to transfer. Payouts came across the board the other day, and I had that typed out. Let's see. And what I mean by that is how much the schools got off their the SEC schools got off their sharing. Okay, I'm doing these numbers because I remember them. The Big Ten was actually higher. In the SEC, it was $46 million per school from the TV. $46 million per school. Now, I counted up the athletes, say, at Alabama, okay? Did the math on that times whatever, all the schools. That comes to, just on the TV, that doesn't mean concessions, jersey sales, hot dogs, tickets, any of that, $68,000 a player. Not football, not basketball, all of them. The javelin thrower, the girls I don't know what
The
all
speed walkers.
Right.
Yeah.
All of those could get $68,000 in cash just off the TV offers. That's not without selling a thing. So that's how much money is being involved. And you wonder, well, how does the push-up coach get $850,000? Well, they got to give that money to somebody. So that's at golf coaches at Tennessee, I think, was getting $650 or something like that.
That's a good gig.
That's a good gig. I mean, I'm working on my applications all around the country right now for golf coaches.
I need that job.
Just see, especially at a big football school where they got to, basically funnel the money other places. That's the math on it. That's in the SEC. The Big Ten's a little bit more. I just don't know the exact numbers on it. So higher than $69,000 per athlete, not football player, athlete in the Big Ten. I was going to do the math, but I remembered it yesterday. All right, standings. So, Terry, we talked last week, and I told you NC State's the cutoff for the ACC every year. And then y'all got beat by Carolina, so that eliminated y'all from making it. So it's these guys who are making the playoffs. Am I right on that?
It's
It's
a
only-
long way to go.
No, there's only 3.
I got 6.
No, the problem here is this. State is the 4th in RPI. There's only 3 teams above them, and that's them top 3 that have a better RPI than North Carolina State does.
So
Syracuse don't make it in, Virginia Tech don't make it in, and Virginia.
Syracuse has won like 5 in a row, though, haven't they? Syracuse playing good
But their
ball here
RPI
lately.
is not higher than State's.
Right now, Syracuse is on a 1-game losing streak.
Well, okay, I know they had won like 3 or 4 in a row. I know they were talking about them,
they don't
I
say
guess
last 10.
I know they were rising up in the comp. Boy, they're at 5th. But I tell you what, the ACC is really top heavy this year. You got 3 really good teams, and everybody else is kind of fighting.
State's
for the scraps.
RPI is 58.
And that's not usually the case.
That's right.
In the
That's
ACC.
right.
Well,
That's
I told
right.
you that's right at the line, Terry. There's 60-something teams.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's this 58th, and
Empty-
they're and only Louisville,
So everybody
Duke,
above
and
them.
Florida State. Virginia, Syracuse, and Virginia Tech are below State in RPI.
So RPI matters more than wins.
That's what they say.
What
but
it ma-
the
no,
RPI
no.
means
Some
who
sort
you
of
play.
algorithm.
I just need to know.
RPI
What-
means
I
who
hate
you
these
played.
What matters is what that committee's going to decide on
see if
selection
RPI is
Sunday
on
or whatever.
there.
That's what matters
Sure.
when they get in their little room and decide.
Our folks at home are watching the ACC standings. Tom, we figured out how to put our screen up. So if we want to show folks a replay and something on our shows, so for folks watching online, if you're listening on the radio, you can watch every Saturday, and also our podcast live on Facebook. Hello to our viewers watching on Facebook Live right now. Share this video with your friends and family. We'll be going on to about 10:15 every Saturday. Tune in with myself and Hunter 3 times a week, and anybody else that in the KTC family that has a day off comes in and joins us for a few minutes. But going through the standings there.
That's what I'm saying.
on
How
that.
far down is Carolina? Still, okay, they're still down there at the bottom.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all I want to make sure.
And y'all
Oh,
got
yeah.
beat by 'em, so that means y'all got eliminated by 'em.
No, really, tell you the truth, that's what's hurting State. The 2 losses to Georgia Tech
Mm-hmm.
and the loss to Carolina.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of that Georgia Tech. Seemed like State started really slow that game, Terry. I listened maybe the first 10 minutes, like they just couldn't get going. But I know we're
Again,
coming back to that. They've had just offensive struggles here.
when you're shooting 26.4% from 3-point line, you're not going to
Yeah.
win. That's basketball.
That's tough.
Should we reduce? I know, Tom, we mentioned this, and we got to get to break in a second. And I think you kind of feel that way. You think we should reduce the number of teams that get in the tournament?
I'm always for that. Now, a lot of people are, again, because they love their 64-team brackets and upsets and some team you never heard of
I think
gets
it's
to play
fun.
Kansas. But I would say, nah, I think you could. I think a 32
I'm about to say that's
or a
that's as far.
24-team tournament would
Ha-
be
well,
fine.
would
I
the-
think if you
would
just
the-
cut it in half, you'd
Would
be
the
fine.
would the
32.
upsets be as important if we put their actual rankings instead of like 2 versus 8, and we put 17 versus 64?
Yeah, I see
Would
what you're
that
saying.
be like, hey y'all, 55 beat the 35th best team? What a great game! Instead
Well,
of hey, an 8 be a 3.
It wouldn't-
It's an upset.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
8 beating a
Yeah.
3 is a better upset than a 32 beating a 12. And
I mean, but
Yeah.
I think the way I think about it, people would say no way, because that gives you like all day Thursday, all day Friday. I mean, it's just basketball
Yeah.
all day, and people love it. So why change it? I'm a person that I like to think every game has more meaning. You know what I mean? Every game is meaningful. I think that's what sometimes happens to baseball because they play 162 games. that people sort of like they're
the same thing
interested,
with
it
NBA.
wanes, and then they get interested again.
It's the same thing
But-
with the NBA.
yeah,
Once
with
it
NBA,
once it
it's
hits
too
the
bad, yeah.
All-Star game,
Right.
after the All-Star game, it's like, all right, I'll start watching. I'll start caring. But
Yeah.
before, it's like, nah, not thinking
But
about it.
you know, it's a business. I mean, that's how you make money. You got a bunch of games. You know, you sell more tickets, and of course, Kevin, director of hot dog sales, he's got to
that's-
make sure he sells
They're,
plenty of hot dogs.
they're
The
not
only
playing
problem-
games to playing games now.
The only problem I have with it is when you come to your play-in games and 11's playing 11.
That's kind of
I
dumb.
don't like
That's not how that's supposed to be.
Playing games, I think, should only be 16 seeds.
You know, that's what I'm saying. That's how it should.
Not-
16
not
against 16,
fighting for an
16
11
against
seed.
16.
What I
you
don't
work
understand-
your way to get in.
What was the calculus behind that?
Yeah,
I mean,
because
I have no
why
I-
does an
I-
11 seed have
Hot
to play?
dogs, Tom. Hot dogs.
No, I think what it is, I think what it was is because you have to let these like lower teams in that win these conferences that you've never heard of, then that bumps say like an NC State out. So I guess
It did last
I
year.
guess they're figuring.
I don't know how.
They're
but it
figuring
did.
okay
because the
well,
first
and-
place team
and-
should beat it better than a ninth place team.
So you take like two teams that are close in the ACC. You put like a Clemson and an NC State. Well, which one should get in? Similar records, similar resumes. Okay, so I guess we're going to put them against each other so people won't cry
Yeah, well, I don't
that we
know.
let one
Clemson
in
did
over
beat
the other.
North
But it's
Carolina.
still, I mean, it's 64
think-
teams already.
I
mean,
think
come
the
on.
play-in teams, the bubble teams, the winners should have to play the one seeds.
Yes, I agree.
I mean,
16
if
against
you're
Yeah,
playing
you're
on the
right.
and you
bubble,
play
Right,
one.
yeah.
get you button there,
Yeah.
and you know why
Yeah.
they don't? It's because the one seeds don't want that.
Right.
They want to beat. You think Coach K wants to play Clemson in the first round, or he wants to play Stephen F. Austin, Hunter Yancey University?
They don't
I mean,
want to play Stephen F. Austin. No, he don't.
that not
that's,
them?
that's who beat him this year.
I'm sure
Did
somehow,
At Duke.
somehow before he retires, Coach A will somehow get a bye in the NCAA tournament.
Here's the
Duke gets a bye.
It's-
It's like, how's
yeah,
this
this is
happen?
what's so crazy. I mean, literally, the playing games. There's no sense. Why? What do you
JP.
mean you haven't gotten the 11 seeds figured out?
Yeah, I
Why?
agree.
I understand the 16 seeds because those are usually the last ones getting in, but the last ones not getting in aren't fighting for an 11 seed.
Exactly.
They shouldn't even be near an 11 seed.
And that's what State is right now. They are an 11 seed in their bracketology thing playing Richmond. 11 versus 11.
It's way too early for that, though. There's another month left. It's way too early.
I mean, well, I know, but you know they do
March
this every
Madness
day.
is right around the corner,
Yeah,
man.
that
I
RPI
cannot
There's a
changes
wait.
month
every
of
day.
basketball. These teams have 8-10
Hey,
games
whoa,
left.
whoa,
Conference
March
games,
Madness.
conference
March
tournaments.
Madness starts today.
No, it does not. You have,
have-
you have
we
to
have-
get to March for March
No,
Madness.
you-
all right,
that's
Terry's.
the
All right, we
build-up.
got to go to break. But Terry's RPI ratings today: Kansas 1, West Virginia 2, Villanova 3, Maryland 4, Dayton 5, Duke 6, Auburn 7, Baylor 8, Oregon 9, and Florida State Seminoles 10. Better Florida State basketball school now. Is that right?
Yes,
It is right now.
That's why they got in ACC.
It is right now.
For
That's
basketball.
why they got in there. All right, JP, what you doing in there? You ready to go to commercial? You're waiting on us, I know. All right, buddy. Let's go to commercial. We'll be right back in just a few minutes on Saturday Sports Talk, KTCBroadcasting.com.